Welcome to the MMA Junkie rankings report for Wednesday, August 26th. John Morgan, of course, our rankings chair. Gorgeous George Garcia. And George, it was a busy weekend. Now, I will say this. A lot of the fights at both UFC and Bellator did not impact the rankings, but the ones at the top definitely did. So why don't we start with Bellator and what happened earlier in the week. Bellator 244, and we had kind of the surprise, the shocker, right? VADIM Nemkov came in and not only won, but won, I think, very, very impressively. And didn't factor into our rankings before. I imagine he's got to now. Where do you put a guy after a big move like that?
Yeah, like 2 years ago when he beat Phil Davis, we made a little splash. I think it was into the honorable mention, but we couldn't move him any further than that because that was really his only big win. And you don't just get a guy like Phil Davis who's got tons of huge wins and chop them all the way down. Slow in, slow out. We've always preached that here at MMA Junkie. So we had a little bit of a move, but then Nemkov, he just doesn't fight as frequently. Honestly, some of the Bellator guys just don't fight as frequently. And in Bellator, you need to give us that data. You need to give us those wins, those performances, because the UFC guys, a lot of them keep a heavier schedule, and it's versus other top competition. But what does he do? He still comes out and beats Ryan Bader. So in essence, now we had two clear wins over two top five guys. So Nemkov, huge move from nowhere land all the way to number 4. Blachowicz, he also moved up as well. He benefited from Bader's loss. So Blachowicz moves up to number 3, Nemkov at number 4, and then we follow with Bader and Davis.
Listen, I know it's tough. I know sometimes you hate making big moves like that. You know, like you said, kind of slow in, slow out. But when you turn in a performance like that, it would be wrong not to acknowledge that for sure. So we'll see what he does. Maybe he'll fight more frequently, kind of cement that legacy, so to speak, cement that position. All right. The following night, it was UFC on ESPN 15 in Las Vegas. And the main event there was an intriguing one. Frankie Edgar earns the split decision win over Pedro Munoz. Munoz, of course, not particularly happy with the results, feels like the judges did him wrong. A lot of the media outlets did score it for Pedro Munoz as well, including MMA Junkie. But at the end of the day, it's Frankie Edgar who gets the result. Of course, the future UFC Hall of Famer, and looked good at 135, if I may say. Even though I didn't score the fight for him, I thought he looked fantastic. So the question becomes, where does he land in the bantamweight division? It's a new home, but certainly you can't just throw away everything that's happened in the past. So where does he wind up at 135 pounds?
You nailed it, John. We can't just throw away what he's done in other divisions. He's been a top-notch fighter against other top-notch fighters in 2 divisions. He now comes basically home. Really, this is his division, and you could tell just the way he measured up against Pedro Munoz. This is more, of his size. He had a good weight cut, so hopefully this is the future for him. And what does he do? He takes out Pedro Munoz, who's a ranked guy. So yeah, we're gonna basically give him some of that credit from his work in other divisions, and we're going to bring him in at number 5, right behind Cory Sandhagen and just ahead of Pedro Munoz. Munoz doesn't need to slide. He has a clear win over Cody Garbrandt, that was very, very decisive. So for right now, I like the way those are, stacked one on top of the other. But great performance by Edgar. I would have had no problem if they had scored it for Munoz as well. It was really, really close. I like that Munoz was barking. And maybe they'll run it back. I don't think it needs to happen immediately, but I'd love to see them dance again because it was a great fight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Pedro's not going to be happy with you when he hears that. But, I would, to be honest, I don't hate the idea of a rematch. I don't see necessarily Frankie Edgar wanting to entertain it. I imagine he's got higher aspirations in the division. But if they did want to run it back, the fight was so close. And I think those two guys, anytime they go at it, are always going to be entertaining. So it's not like it'd be some kind of, snooze fest for us to watch again. So we'll see what the UFC decides to do. Meanwhile, the UFC will be in center focus again this week, UFC on ESPN Plus 33. There will certainly be some shakeups after a few of those key matchups, and we'll talk about them all right here on the Rankings Report.